Hi, I'm Dwayne Wilson-Clark and I'm here today with Michael Barrett. Welcome back to the Level Up Lounge. Today we are here with Taha, Khokhar, also known as PacMan, who is a gaming and content creator and also the first ambassador for the Dubai police gaming over in the region as well. He is a self-made force within the gaming world, with also in reality TV as well. Born in Pakistan, raised in Canada, but now back in Dubai, with over 750 million views across different platforms, partnered with Red Bull, Activision, and also Coca-Cola. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Welcome, man. Good to see you.
So, I mean, look, we're delighted to have you here. You've been streaming now, I'd say, since 2010. How did you get into this? You started off, doing this as a part-time gig, I'd imagine, but how has that escalated over the years?
Initially just started off as content. I used to watch all these guys back then. I think I'd say like probably White Boy 7th Street, X-Jaws, these were like the Call of Duty guys back then. And I used to watch them, and my dad was like, "Oh, you can do this too." And he was like the force initially, where he's like, "Oh, you're young, whatever. Here's a it was a Dazzle PVR." And that thing had the quality of a potato. But for at that time, that was like the best thing you could buy. And my dad got me that, and I'm like, okay, let me try this out. So then I was recording stuff on the Dazzle and recording myself talking, doing commentaries over gameplay with my dad's phone, which was a BlackBerry at the time. And I was like, hey guys, this is PacMan. Or at the time it was Frost. It was, hey guys, this is Frost, doing commentaries. And no success really came from it, but it was something I wanted to do, and I actually fell in love with it. Fast forward about 3 years, 2013-ish, I actually ended up getting swatted, which was not fun. And that kind of put me in a very traumatic spot where I ended up leaving the community for a while, for a few years. And then I came back in 2017 and I started gaming again, just not content, all the way up until 2020 when I'm like, you know what, this is something I've wanted to do. I can't just let someone who did that to me just take everything away from me. And I'm not going to let that stop me, and I need to get back into it. This time, I was like, you know what? Instead of content focus, I'm going to focus more on being a streamer and see how that goes first. And so COVID hit. I built my first PC ever. And I used the last bit of my savings building that PC and started streaming the very next day. And now we're here pretty much.
Nice. And what was the moment that you came up or with the nickname or rebranded as PacMan?
So when I started streaming, I did not want to be known as Frost, which was the OG name. A lot of people knew me in the community as that, but I wanted to I had this in my mind that I'm going to succeed. And if I'm going to, I want to put a positive representation of my country. So PacMan, Pakistani man.
Nice.
And initially it was PacMan FPS, because that's all I played is first-person shooters. But over time it's kind of evolved into just PacMan.
Okay. And how did your kind of first channel start within the region? Tell us more about that.
So I initially grew in Canada, US, UK are like my top audiences at the time over there. And then this was always my happy place growing up. My dad used to work in Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, Saudi, so I used to be in and out quite a bit. So once I was, successful, I was like, you know what? This industry is doing a lot to start growing, but it has not boomed yet. So I want to be here before it truly booms. So once it booms, everyone thinks of an English-speaking content creator, they think PacMan. And so 2024, I took the leap of faith with my wife, and I moved out here, and we've been here about a year and a half now. And in that year and a half, all my TikTok audience is no longer over there. It is over there if I need to target it, but my views for last year would be about 135 million views. They're all GCC.
It's insane, by the way.
And they're all GCC. So it's UAE 40%, Saudi 22%, Qatar 7%. It's insanity. And initially people were like, oh, you know what? Like brands, for example, it's like, you don't have an audience here. I'm like, guys, 22% GCC out of 1.4 million is still a big number. Like, yeah, but it doesn't show. I'm like, give me 7 months. And then that's the long story short.
Fantastic. The Traitors Canada, what impact did that have for you on your brand and your general, visibility?
Honestly, it was one of those things where it was a bucket list thing for me. I used to watch Traitors UK quite a bit, and I ended up getting a call one day, just or a message on Instagram like, hey, I am the casting director for Traitors Canada. Would you be interested? We'd love to have you because we think you'd be a great fit. I thought it was a joke at first, but turns out it's real, and it's been amazing. Honestly, it did help the brandability aspect of it from finally stepping away into the whole total goal I have, where I want to be more traditional, more of a household name, and it helped in that sense. Where a lot of people who normally would not know who I am because I'm just a gamer, now know me and are more intrigued and interested in knowing more about me because of a TV show.
Fantastic. I very much admire your consistency, right? You've done 4 years straight of streaming every day. How was that possible?
I started with the main goal being the fact that I do not want to have any excuse that I did not try hard enough. That was the biggest thing. I had the goal in mind that I want to get to a point where I want to be able to retire my dad, provide for my family, my mom, my brother, my sister, my wife, and be able to tell my dad, hey, you've done enough. Time for you to relax. And this was the career I saw myself doing it in. So the whole streaming every day and making content every day for 4 years was part of that, where if it did not work out, at least I would not have the excuse that I didn't try hard enough.
Yeah. Were there any days there where you were like, I just can't do it today, or you were close to not doing it, or any struggles in there?
A few, initially when I started, first about year and a half, it was a little bit rough because obviously there's barely any viewership. And then content started picking up, and then that's when viewership started coming in, which made it easier. But there was moments like when I had COVID. I have chronic bronchitis and asthma. So having COVID on top of that, I was in the gutter. And I was basically not even able to move, and I did not want to do it, but I'm like, you know what? No excuses. And I still went live. I was dying. I'm laying down. I can't even get up. I told my wife, start the stream. I can't leave the day.
Yeah, fantastic.
750 million views and counting. Did you ever, at any point think that it would grow to this scale?
Not to sound cocky, but yeah. It was not a thing of I know it's gonna happen, in a cocky way. It was more so I knew that I would put in enough work to make something of that sort happen. Yes, initially though, my thing was maybe I could hit 150, 200, 250 million in a few years, but 750 is quite a bit higher than what I initially expected. There has been a lot of virality factors, and it's not just the fact that it's through my pages. It's also the fact that I have fan pages that are posting my content. So added together, it's possibly even higher than that from pages I don't even know exist.
It's amazing how much that's scaled in such a short space of time. Moving to the UAE last year and really kind of getting involved in this scene, what made that decision to kind of say Dubai, especially when you look at what Saudi's doing, and also how has the Dubai ecosystem treated you since you've been here?
I think for me, it was between Riyadh and Dubai, just because I see both of them doing things. Dubai is more specific towards general creators, not just gaming, and Saudi is more gaming. Now, the thing was, for me, Dubai has always been my happy place. So it made the choice a little bit easier. You know what? Saudi will be there in the background. That is somewhere, I have family, I have friends. I can always try that out later. But Dubai, with everything they're doing for creators in general, and with me wanting to be more than just a gamer, obviously gaming will be a big aspect, but wanting to go above and beyond, Dubai just made more sense. And I think in that sense, it's also quite a lot of it has helped me out in the sense of, I've done other content. My Instagram has nothing to do with gaming. My Instagram is all comedy, skits, lifestyle stuff. And that stuff I feel like is only possible because of the city I'm in. The connections I've made, all these incredible other creators. And I think that's what has helped me quite a bit in Dubai. Also the fact that, there's incredible things like the golden visa for creators. What other place is doing that? As a creative, you have a 10-year golden visa, which is basically a citizenship in a way. No other city is doing that, And Dubai Police comes in, being able to say, I work with Dubai Police as a gaming ambassador is a pretty big deal. Where else in the world can you say, I work with the police for gaming. The police in general is even doing gaming. It doesn't, so it just made sense.
Fantastic. I mean, how would you compare the gaming scenes then in Dubai and in the likes of Canada, for example, and Saudi as well?
I think Canada is a lot more ahead at the moment. I think brands are more have a better understanding of the industry over there. They're spending a lot more on it and stuff. Here, it's still growing. I think it's still very early stages. There is a lot happening to get it further, such as, Dubai Esports Festival. We have the Games Expo, Gaming Matters, all these big things happening, which are giving people a better understanding of things you can do. It's just on the creator side of things, it's still a little bit lackluster. There's a lot of things that they can improve on. One of the biggest things I've seen is the fact that, there is sadly a lot of people here that have fake followings, and it's a very common thing. And most brands do not check your analytics. And it's like people who have real followings are losing out on deals because the brand would rather pay a quarter of that to someone else who has a higher following, but 99% of the followers are fake.
Yeah,
or
nothing to do with the industry.
Exactly. And then the brand whines, oh, I didn't get any results. You're not going to get results if they have 2 guys actually liking their post and 250,000 people who are fake. Doesn't make any sense. And I wish that was something that improves. And I think over time, brands will learn, and they're starting to learn already. Now brands are asking for analytics because you can fake your numbers, you can bluff the numbers, but you can't bluff the analytics. Over there, it always shows. I've had moments where I've had to be like, I had a deal with a brand, I'm not going to name the brand, where they were like, oh, why would we pay you this much when we can pay these 3 guys the same amount? And I'm like, okay, ask them for the analytics and then come back to me. I'll give you mine. You don't even have to ask. I'll give it to you. I sent them a screen recording, not even a picture. Pictures can be edited. I sent them a screen recording, my entire thing. I'm like, go compare it. My account on Instagram, for example, is a quarter of their sizes. But tell me who has higher analytics. They came back to me, gave me the deal next day. Yep. They're like, oh, the others aren't even willing to give us their analytics. Yep. And that's the thing. I think it's still time before the industry gets there. Like, that's the thing I like about Canada is every brand makes sure to check your demographic, your analytics, all that stuff, and it actually matters. So I think it's just a matter of time before the industry here catches up to that.
Yeah. So you mentioned, Dubai and what it's doing for creators. So can you elaborate on that? What is it that kind of makes Dubai a sort of special place for creators? It makes it a welcoming place.
I think it's from Fuzza, the Crown Prince, they've done some incredible things, where under some great leadership, they have the fund, I think it's 100 million dirhams for content creators. And that applies to a lot of things such as helping you be creative, create your own shows, create your own content and things of that sort, your own events. We have 1 billion summit where, every year we have 1 to 2, like this year was 2 billion followers under one roof, which is crazy to think about. No other country is doing that for content creators. We have events like TwitchCon and stuff internationally, but I don't think any of them compete to what 1 billion summit was, where it's actually creators that are networking and you get to be around the biggest of the biggest creators and no one has egos. Everyone is equal, and that's only possible in a place like Dubai. I don't see that happening anywhere else. And now, the biggest thing is we have Creators HQ in Emirates Towers. Creators HQ is doing some incredible things. I myself am a member of Creators HQ, and they have events happening weekly pretty much for, working with brands, working with government projects, working with networking shops, classes, working with social media platforms. And no other city or country in the world is really doing that as actively and being proactive about it and trying to teach people how to be a creator, and I think that's a big thing.
Amazing. Great to hear.
You speak multiple languages, which I'd imagine would really help you connect with your audiences around the world. But are there any, when you're dealing with these brands that are asking you to obviously put content out, is there any preference in terms of the language that they want you to speak or?
Overall, no. Most people that come to me know it's for English because that's what I keep my content in. I've had brands that have, pulled their deals because like, oh, we wanted Arabic speaking, and that's mainly here, which is it's a tough spot to be in because it's like, hey, you do not need Arabic speaking. Like there was a time where that made sense, but now I feel like there's enough of an expat community. Like Dubai, for example, I think 80% of the city is expats. That are people who look like me, are from Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, India, or the other side, which are like UK, Canada. So many people have immigrated here. That there's a massive English speaking audience, and I think it's a target a lot of people are missing. Where a lot of brands still seem to be, or not just brands, but agencies seem to be focused on, oh, we need you to speak Arabic to hit a target audience. But it's like, hey, I can give you bigger numbers because there's a bigger audience for this. And I've proven it time and time again by showing the fact that initially, like, for example, I was told you cannot have, you're not brandable enough because you don't speak Arabic. I'm like, yeah, but I had 130 million views and I only speak English, and they're all GCC. Yeah. Like if they're out of GCC, okay, but like they're all GCC. Like literally, it doesn't make any sense how you can say that when that's more views than most of the guys you're working with. That you're like, oh, it's because they hit that target audience, that the audience is local. Yeah. Like here you go, this is also local.
Yeah.
You've obviously one of the biggest partnerships I'd say you've had. I'd imagine you've had a fair amount of decent ones, but one that's in this region in particular that stands out, the Dubai Police. How did that partnership come about? Did you reach out to them? Did they reach out to you? What was the origin of your partnership?
Honestly, it came through a mutual friend. They were talking and they wanted someone, and he recommended me, and I'm very thankful to him. And it's like it's more of a freelance thing. It's not a contractual thing, because the thing is, if it was contractual, then I have to be a lot more controlled in what I say. And even they understand that cannot happen, considering my content needs to perform, and that is my livelihood. But it's one of those things where, they reached out. They're like, hey, we have this tournament happening. We'd love to see how we can work together. And one thing led to another. And then by the end of the tournament, it was like, okay, we want you to be the official ambassador moving forward for all the tournaments. So even I think right now, if you walk into the Dubai Police Officers Club, right on the entrance of the main building, there's a TV screen, and it shows like gaming people, and I come up right there, front and center. I'm like, this is cool. Being at the Police Officers Club is a cool experience.
Awesome.
Okay.
Fantastic.
So, do you have a day-to-day involvement with these guys, or is it more like once a week, once a month?
It's not a full-time thing. It's just once here and there, like once in a while, whenever they need something to be worked on and they need advice on, specifically gaming related. So it's usually every few months whenever there is a tournament happening. We were supposed to have one in Ramadan, but that has been postponed because they want to do something bigger.
Okay. How do you help promote cyber safety among your viewers and just sort of gamers in general?
I always tell my audience quite a bit, like, hey guys, like, do not trust links and stuff, because we've had it happen quite a bit, where people will click random links in Discord for free nitro, free this. I'm like, guys, come on, don't be stupid. You gotta be smarter online. There's been people who've used their parents' credit cards, and you have to go above and beyond. Be like, hey, I'm refunding this. I've done it quite a few times. Like, hey, I can't take this. It's not possible. You need permission to be doing things like this. Be safer. What if my thing was a scam, and next thing you know, your parents are losing $5,000-$6,000 because you clicked the wrong link. So I've tried a lot about that, especially with Dubai Police. One of the things with the December tournament was cybersecurity and cyber crimes and safety online. So that was one of the very good things that I really enjoyed being a part of.
Superb. And okay, so on the tournaments and sort of community initiative side, are you? Could you sort of tell us about any initiatives that you've helped launch, or you've sort of you're specifically excited about?
There's one upcoming soon that I can't really talk about yet, but that should be a big one. That's something that's been close to my heart for a while. I have done stuff in the past, such as charity events. I've done charity streams with Tiltify. I think total over the course of like 3 different charity streams in the last couple of years, we raised close to $15,000 just off of streaming. And it's a cool feeling, being able to show love back to places. Like one of the big campaigns we did was for children in Afghanistan, for schooling. And, it feels good to be able to know that I have such a supportive community, that it's not just on me. It's the fact that I have a supportive community beside me that supports me in being able to give back to others as well.
Do you see this this partnership as something that other people could follow in terms of a partnership between a brand like the police, from the gaming side, and also content creators? Is this a model that will evolve, so to speak, in the industry?
I think so. Just based on our stuff that has happened, I think people that have followed me for a while that saw this happen have tried to make this happen internationally. I have a friend who is exploring opportunities with the New York police, for example. And the example in that is me and working with Dubai Police. So it's cool to see other, places trying to follow the route as well and trying to make this a more generalized thing. And I think long term, we will see a lot more people doing it, where creators are, I think, a better marketing tool than traditional media. And being able to use creators for things like this to push positive messages, I think is going to be more used later on.
Wanted to ask, okay, so your collaboration, you're an ambassador for the Dubai Police. What does that mean to you? What is it kind of like? What is it that you have you learned from that experience so far from working with them?
That's a tough one. I mean, the biggest thing I guess I would have learned is, that's a very tough one, to be honest. I think a lot of it's just us, me learning more about cybersecurity than I initially knew.
Yep.
Things that I didn't even think about. It's just been on that side, to be honest. It's the fact that there are also a lot of people in that community that game. And, it makes you realize, you can make friends with people everywhere just because of gaming.
Yep.
You wouldn't have thought that a police officer has time to game, but then some of my closest friends now are police officers that I play Counter-Strike with because that's their favorite thing to do on time.
Yep.
But other than that, nothing specific, to be honest.
That's cool.
You've partnered with some very big names in the industry: Intel, Red Bull, Call of Duty. How do you get these partnerships on?
That's a shout out to my management. They take care of a lot of these things. They've brought me some incredible partnerships. A lot of it is incoming, a lot of it is outgoing. And, it's one of those things where being able to use the brandability, there's not anyone like me per se. I come from a small town in Pakistan. There's not anyone, doing the things I've done in gaming at the level I'm doing it at. And I think being able to use that to brands' advantage, I think that I tell the brands all the time, like, guys, use me, do it. Like, you have the availability. But that being said, we are very picky with who we work with. And I think that has also helped where, bigger and bigger brands come to us because of our exclusivity. I don't just work with everyone. That's always been our thing, is it has to make sense. Money isn't everything. It has to be good for branding, or if it's a brand that I genuinely want to be attached to or I like, it's not just, hey, it's a good paycheck, take it.
So what do you look for in a partnership or working with a company in order to be like, this is successful?
Typically, the biggest thing is if it's a product or service that I am using personally, that I normally use myself, or have used in the past, and I do genuinely like it. That's like the number one factor.
Can you share anything that any past events that have been extremely like close to your heart, or this has really stood out and that's why it was so successful?
I think Intel and Street Fighter. We had a combination for the launch of Street Fighter 6. And I was like the face of the tournament, face of the whole campaign. And just, I don't know, that one also had me pretty emotional because I'm like, this is my childhood game. And to be, the face of the launch and being involved, having my own tournament and all that stuff was a very cool experience. And number one technically would be Call of Duty. Being a guy that has played COD pretty much his whole life and, started off on it almost 13, 15 years ago now. You can even find videos of me as a squeaker back then, to just a couple of years back now, being involved with every launch of Call of Duty, a couple of years ago being featured for the launch of Warzone 2 and on Battle.net as the streamer to watch. it was a cool experience, you know. And now I receive a lot of cool things from them. I work with them. It's cool to see. It's always an emotional thing for me because like this is a brand I've given love to for so long, and to finally see the recognition and being like their face in a way, it's a very cool experience.
Amazing, amazing. How do you balance that kind of work with the brand and your loyalty and your emotion to the brand, right, to your audience, right, your viewers?
I mean, I think that correlates with my entire content because I try to keep my content very genuine. A lot of people nowadays, specifically, I've noticed there's a lot of setup content, scripted content. I still don't do that because I don't know. I've always been the type where I want you to like me for me and the genuineness I put out, not
It's
just
got to be personal.
Exactly. That's the thing. It's like all my content. You'll notice it's live, genuine interactions with people. I've never posted something where I'm like, yo, just tell me this, tell me that, react to this with this way. No, it's just me being stupid online, doing my thing, so people get to see the genuineness not only in me but the others that are actually genuinely shocked at the things I say, the weird things I'll say, like the accents I do, the voices I do, things of that sort.
And do you believe that brands today understand gaming enough?
I think so. I think overall, globally, it is at a point where a lot of brands are understanding the value gaming brings. And I think part of that would be a campaign I did with Advil. You know, you would never think Advil and gaming, what does that have to correlate? But the fact that they realized gaming, not just gaming, but like gamers in general are on their PCs so long that we actually end up having migraines because of the screen time, you know, the lighting, all that stuff. And Advil understood that, and Advil released a whole optimum gaming settings not to get migraines, you know. And they released Advil Migraines, which was specifically targeted towards gamers for that campaign. And being a gamer that got to work with them was cool to see that, you know, other brands are getting towards that side where they understand we have to use out-of-the-box people.
Superb. And for any aspiring creators out there, what would you kind of give them in terms of advice for them being able to build relationships with brands and kind of explore opportunities with you know, potential brands out there?
I think the number one advice is always be yourself. I think you want the content to be as true to who you are. I think that always matters. As far as exploring brand collaborations, I think it has to do with always stay genuine and do brands that you know, genuinely like. Because you can tell, your audience can tell the genuineness in you when you're pushing a product that you don't really care about, you know. So it makes life a lot easier because they trust you, right? You don't want to be throwing random things at your audience just because you got a bag. Doesn't make any sense. People do it, but you can tell that it's not genuine. So always work, I'd say always work with brands that you feel like either provide a value to you or your audience, not just because of the money, because it actually means something.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
You've hinted at lifestyle meets gaming. What does that mean? Can you tell us more about that?
I can't say much until the launch, but I will say it's something that I've wanted to do for a very long time. I think there's a lot of organizations in the world that are doing great things, you know, from FaZe Clan to 100 Thieves to G2 and all these incredible, like in this region, for example, Power, Falcons, they're all killing it. But I don't think they're doing everything they can. And as a creator, as a gamer, you know, seeing a lot of these orgs are kind of run by a lot of corporate people. And I feel like what I have planned for this industry will be a major shocker to that side.
Interesting. Very curious more than anything. How do you see the gaming content creation world evolving in the next 3 or 4 years and beyond?
It's a tough one because I'm genuinely scared after seeing all the, you know, updates on AI. You know, I think it will be interesting. I don't think anyone can really predict where it's going to go. But I am excited to see. I do genuinely think that learning AI as a creator might be a very valuable tool.
Is there anything specific there in terms of like anything you've seen so far or anything you've heard about which you think could be very beneficial to you, make your life easier or anything like that?
Um, Beneficial in a way is probably AI editing. The fact that you could use AI editing softwares that cut down your editing time in half. That's beneficial. But there's been more scary things, such as I saw a podcast of a guy with me, but it wasn't me,
Oh wow.
and I'm like, oh my god, when did I do this? What is this? Like
Wow.
this is crazy. And then I noticed the slip ups. I'm like, oh my god, this is AI.
Wow.
It was eye opening. It was shocking. I'm like, 2 hours you're having a conversation with me, and it genuinely seems like it's me. Right? Like the whole talking, the whole thing I do on stream where it's like chat, chat, chat. Like, tell me about this. It's like, what is going on? This is crazy. And that's scary. The fact that someone can create that just from my stream bots.
Yeah.
So what's stopping some brands from, going to our thing? Other than legal action, of course. But what's stopping someone from doing that and you just don't find out, They promote it in a way where it never comes across your desk, but, they're using your likeness, your name and ability all over the world.
Yeah,
That's a scary thing.
That's shocking, really, and really emphasises cybersecurity, right? And the need to just be aware about what you're viewing, what you're interacting with, what you're clicking, etc., right? So, yeah, I wasn't expecting that. That's shocking. Like, yeah, fair enough. Okay, and so what are your sort of goals? As a community advocate, as a leader in the gaming space, what would you like to do now moving forward?
Currently, I am working on doing the content where lifestyle and gaming will meet together. I think that is a big thing to me, and a partner of mine are trying to work towards. Personally, I don't think I've achieved what I want to achieve just yet. I feel like there's still a lot more I want to do. There is a lot I have done, but I don't think I'm still at the level where I feel comfortable. I think it's always about going outside the box and going above and beyond. And for me, that comes with I want to do more reality TV. I want to do some sort of scripted TV or movie. And as far as gaming goes, I don't think I'm still at the level where everyone thinks Pac-Man directly. There's still a little bit of thinking, a little bit of debating. So I think there's still time for me to get to where I want to be, which is being the face, where every time you think of gaming, instantly you think Pac-Man.
Oh, fantastic.
What would you say, or what do you think rather, of the gaming scene in the Middle East, and how would you like to see it evolve?
I think it's doing great. I cannot wait for brands and companies to start learning a little bit more in depth about analytics and how to use those to their advantage. And not just that, but how to select the right type of creator for the campaign, because I think that is something people lack on here a little bit. And I think that's what I want to see, the change in that. Once that happens, I just see the boom. That's when the boom comes. As soon as that happens, that's when the boom comes. That's when the industry goes from steadily going up to a straight rocket ship. And that's what I'm excited for, to see the day where gaming, is at the same level that it is internationally, whether it's UK, US, Canada. And, you would have the MENA region be up there alongside of those.
And what would you say to any aspiring content creators that are out there who are either just getting started or maybe in their first or second year? How do they get to that 750 million views mark? Is there any advice that you'd give to them?
Be yourself, stay true to yourself, stay genuine, do the content. Do it because you want to, not because you expect money out of it. I think that's a very big thing. Just do it because you enjoy it. Don't go into it with the expectation I'm going to make $1 million in a day. It's not going to happen, sadly. Work hard, don't give up. That even comes back to my own thing. Initially, when I started, for 3 months, I posted every single day, sometimes twice a day, without stopping. And I got 100 to 150 views total per video on TikTok, which is crazy. I had friends that got 10,000, 20,000 every video from the beginning. They were growing, and then they gave up because we're stuck at 10, 20K. I'm like, guys, I'm getting 150, 200 views, not even 1K for 3 months straight. They're all nowhere to be found now, and I'm still here. And that has to show you that, it's about consistency and determination. Don't let it get to you, because even after 3 months, I finally had that one blow up happen where that first video hit, and I was like, okay, this is what I need to do. And then you learn from that, and you progress from that forward.
Cool, very cool. Okay, and so where do you sort of see the MENA gaming scene in the next sort of 5 years?
I think in the next 5 years, I genuinely do see Dubai competing with Saudi. Currently we are competing in maybe the creator industry, but in the gaming scene, I don't think we're even close. That has to do with Esports World Cup. I think in the next 5 years, I genuinely think that Dubai will have their own, or at least Dubai or Abu Dhabi, UAE as a whole, will have some sort of thing that will compete with that. And I think that's when the big shift in the industry is going to come, when more and more companies start seeing, the things that gaming industry is doing in this region, and they'll want to come in more. We've already seen some incredible companies here, Ubisoft and stuff that are based here. And I think it's just a matter of time before even more start coming in. But it's going to happen in the next 5 to 6 years, I'd say.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool.
On the show, at the end of every show, we always want to get to know the gamer, your inner nerd, so to speak. So love to ask you some questions about that. And what was the first console that you ever got your hands on?
Oh, man, that's a tough one. As far as I can remember, it was a collab. I think it was between Sega and something else. It was a hand-me-down from my uncle. So all my consoles initially were hand-me-downs. And there was one that took a disc and a cassette. It was one of the coolest things I've had.
A disc and a cassette.
And a cassette. You could choose which
Any
one.
ideas, Michael?
I can't know.
It was a collab. It's a very old console. And that was one of the first ones. And the thing is, my grandfather used to buy my youngest uncle consoles all the time whenever he traveled. And my youngest uncle is only 4 years older than me. So he'd get bored of it and he'd hand me down. So the first ever console I got was maybe when I was like 2. And I barely knew how to hold a controller. So I blame my uncle for all this.
Nice. What was the sort of first game that you ever, fell in love with, passionately played, relentlessly?
Sonic, yeah. That was childhood memories every time. Even till this day, I still play Sonic. That's the one thing I cannot let go.
Very cool.
Sonic
Got any sort of like personal high scores or achievements in the game that you're proud of?
No, honestly, it was just one of those things that I just enjoyed playing.
Yeah.
Never really went for crazy things like speed runs and stuff. It's just always been one of those games that, I can just relax on.
Yeah, nice. Great game.
What's been your favourite game of the last decade?
Oh, that's tough. I think decade would be tough because I feel like these two games are just over a decade.
Go on.
Modern Warfare 2 original, which is 14 years now?
Yeah.
Top game of all time because it changed how Call of Duty was seen. And Last of Us 1.
It's a great game.
I think Last of Us 1 is one of the most incredible cinematic masterpieces we've had in a very long time. That has to be the best game for me.
Very cool. Very cool. What was the last game you purchased?
That's an interesting question considering I don't buy games anymore. Actually, no, that's a lie. I did buy one recently. I bought Repo. Or I don't know. I don't even know if it was free or if it was bought. But yeah, that's the most recent game I've gotten. It's called Repo, and it's like a funny game. It's a very small game. You're like looting in this underground town as these weird characters, and everyone has disappeared, and there's monsters, and the monsters can hear you. So there's prox chat, and the characters have this weird way whenever they talk, their entire face goes like this. So it's just hilarious, and the conversations when you're having with the guys and the monster starts coming in, it's the funniest thing possible.
Nice.
Might have to check that out.
I'm wondering, you mentioned, you do get some of these nice gifts from the brands that you've worked with. Is there anything that you are especially fond of? Have they sent you a really cool, like limited edition version of something or?
Most of it is Call of Duty related, yeah. So COD sends me packages every 3 to 4 months or so, depending on seasons. And they've sent me some incredible things. And considering all these things are usually like 1 of 50, 1 of 30, because they send it to specific creators and that's it. I think the coolest one so far has to be a skate deck.
Cool.
So it was a launch for, I think about a year ago, they had a launch for a season where they released a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle stuff.
Yep.
And so they sent me a skate deck that you can hang up on the back of your wall.
Nice.
And it's a beautiful skate deck with this entire TMNT graphics on the back, Call of Duty style. And I think that's one of the coolest things I have.
Yeah, that's great. Very cool. Very cool.
What are you playing at the moment?
Currently, Counter-Strike, Call of Duty, and Fortnite are the main. I think it is time for me to start going towards GTA a little bit now that GTA 6 is right around the corner, pretty much.
Just a few months.
That I think it makes sense.
It's a good shout, actually, to be fair. I might do the same.
Yeah. I'm going to presume that's the game that you're most excited about.
Oh, yes, hands down. GTA 6, I think, will be a game that not only as a game will be very successful, but I think it's going to change the entire industry. That's a game I see building a lot of careers that we haven't seen yet. You know, people we don't even know that exist right now are going to come out of that game as some of the biggest creators in the world.
Very cool.
Very good point. Okay. Well, look, that's the end of it for today. Thank you very much for coming on the show. And thank you guys at home for tuning in. We'll be back again within the next couple of weeks with some more stellar guests. Thank you. Bye-bye.